Well, dramatic cell phone video of a rescue on Lake Superior this weekend by the Coast Guard. As you can see, a woman was transferred from the Vista Star to a Coast Guard vessel amid very rough seas. This happened Saturday night during a wedding cruise.
Yeah, the dancing became dangerous and that wedding celebration turned into an evacuation when the cruise boat Vista Star collided with breakwater. Now, that little red dot you see right there, the Superior entry near Wisconsin Point, that's where the sheriff's office believes the crash happened sometime around 10:45 Saturday night.
And Northern News Now's Madison Green spoke to one of the guests on board that night and takes us inside the chaotic ride.
You know, it was a routine, it was a wedding. So we celebrated and had dinner, and as the night went on, things just started to change. So
Beth Elstad was one of the 84 passengers aboard the Vista Star Saturday night, celebrating her nephew's wedding. Despite a warning for dangerous swimming conditions for Park Point beaches from the Duluth Fire Department more than 2 hours before the vessel departed, they ventured into Lake Superior. Elstad says the guests believe they would stay in the harbor if the big lake was too rough.
There was like a sharp veer. One of the speakers in the corner toppled over with some glass on the table and nearly hit one of the guests. That was the first clue, and we all were kind of like, what is happening? Are we going in circles?
But Elstad says one thing is certain. When the boat collided with the breakwater at the Superior entrance along Wisconsin Point, it was the guests who took charge, not the captain or crew.
To hear the owner of the boat saying that safety is paramount, that they have procedures and protocol, there were none executed. The guests and my family members handed out life jackets. My family and guests treated and assessed for injuries.
Elstad says they were preparing to take further action and make the tougher decisions.
When we were there that night, it's like, how do you pick and choose who's going to get out of here? Really, that's what it felt like. And that's never a situation anybody should be in. This was completely avoidable.
Making it a night to remember for all the wrong reasons. In Duluth, Madison Green, Northern News Now.
Now, we have reached out to the Vista Fleet for comment about what happened. We've not heard back.
Now, according to the St. Louis County Sheriff's Office, any potential criminal investigation would be up to the Sheriff's Office, although they did add that deputies did not notice any signs of impairment that night.
They said the Coast Guard will also conduct a more regulatory investigation, looking for possible equipment malfunction, captain error, or what the weather was that night.